Hello, welcome to the Fantastic Fiction at KGB reading series. Fantastic Fiction is a monthly speculative fiction reading series held on the third Wednesday of every month, hosted by Ellen Datlow and me, Matthew Kressel. We spotlight well-known and up-and-coming science fiction, fantasy, and horror authors, and admission is always free. We publish a monthly podcast and video so people who can't attend the in-person event can still enjoy the readings. If you'd like to support the series, you can donate at kgbfantasticfiction.org/support. Anyway, on to the show.
All right. Can everyone hear me okay?
Hello? Matt's talking.
Can everyone hear me? Is the speaker working all right? No? Some people in the back say they can't hear. Hold on, I'm going to check the wires here. Maybe something got loose.
No, it's connected.
Here, try again.
Hello. Better? Yes. All right. Good evening. How is everyone? You can do better than that. Come on. How is everybody? There we go. All right. Welcome to Fantastic Fiction at KGB. My name is Matt Kressel. I co-host this series with Ellen Datlow. And we've been doing this for a long time. The series itself has been running since the late 90s. There's never a cover charge. We do not charge you at the door. All we ask is that you buy a drink, hard or soft, support the bar, you support the series, and tip your bartender, Mary, who's always working hard to keep you hydrated. I'm excited about our guests tonight. Tonight we have two fabulous readers. We have Micaiah Johnson and Siobhan Carroll going to read for us. I am told there are no books present for sale. Is that correct? However, there is this newfangled thing all the kids are talking about. It's called the internet, and apparently you can buy digital books online or print books, and they will mail it to your house. It's amazing. There's also these bookstores. Heard they're still around. So yes. Do we have any announcements? No announcements. All right. So we'll just get right to it then. Our first reader will be Micaiah Johnson. Micaiah is the Compton, Crook, and Carl Brandon award-winning author of The Space Between Worlds. Her debut novel was a Sunday Times Bestseller, an editor's choice at the New York Times, and was named one of the best books of 2020 and one of the best science fiction books of the last decade by NPR. Her second novel, Those Beyond the Wall, has been named one of NPR's best books of 2024 and a finalist for the Ursula Le Guin Prize. In her academic life, she studies race, the unhuman, and death, themes featured in her upcoming work, The Unhaunted. Please welcome Micaiah Johnson.
I can't see anything.
Hello, Micaiah.
And yes, I'm so prepared you saw me standing in line for water as I was hearing my own introduction read out. I'm extraordinary. So I'm reading from both books. I like doing this because they're kind of an antagonistic, well, I've historically said antagonistic duology, but I'm not looking at my agent and I say, like, it's actually a trilogy, you guys just don't know that yet. And so I like putting them against each other. So I'm going to try to read a little bit from each. I think that'll be, that's actually perfect. Oh, showing the cover would be a great move. This is not the cover. I read from Arts, and the cover is very different. But you can find it at bookstores, which I think, New York has like a couple, like two or three. Okay, so the first book I'm going to read from is The Space Between Worlds. So the main character, its first person, is Kara. When I was young and multiverse was just a theory, I was worthless. When I was young and multiverse was just a theory, I was worthless. The brown girl child of an addict in one of those doomed wards outside the walls of Wiley City that people don't get out of or go to. But then Adam Bosch, our new Einstein and the founder of the institute that pays me, discovered a way to see into other universes. But of course, humanity couldn't just look. We had to enter. We had to touch and taste and take. but the universe said no. The first people sent to explore a parallel Earth came back dead or twitching and about to die. It took a lot of smart and important people's corpses before they learned that if you're still alive in the world you're trying to enter, you get rejected. You are an anomaly the universe won't allow, and she'll send you back broken in half if she has to. But Bosch's device could only resonate with worlds very similar to our own, so most of the scientists and astronauts with their safe, sheltered upbringings had living doppelgangers on other worlds. So they decided they needed trash. They needed poor and black and brown people. People somehow on the wrong side of the wall, even though we were the ones who built that wall. People who were brought for labor, or came for refuge, or who were here before the first neoliberals surveyed this land and thought to build a paradise. People who'd already thought this was paradise. They needed my people. They needed me. Of the 380 Earths with which we can resonate, I'm dead in 372. I'm not a scientist, I'm just what they're stuck with. The higher-ups call us traversers on paper, and we download otherworld information and bring it back for their greater minds, pictured giant like quotes there, to study. No better than pigeons, which is what they call us, not on paper. One day, I know the Eldridge Institute will figure out how to remotely download information across worlds, and then I get to be worthless again. When the multiverse was confirmed, the spiritual and scientific communities both counted it as evidence of their validity. The scientists said, look, we told you there were parallel universes. And the spiritual said, see, we've always known there was more than one life. Even worthless things can become valuable once they become rare. That's the grand lesson of my life. I'm at the base of a mountain, looking out over a landscape I was never meant to see. On this Earth, number 197, I died at 3 months old. The file only lists respiratory complications as cause of death, but the address on the certificate is the same shack where I spent most of my life, so I can picture the sheet metal roof, the concrete floor, and the mattress my mother and I shared on so many different Earths. So I know I died warm, sleeping, and inhaling honest dirt off my mother's skin. Kara, respond? Kara? So that's Stell, and she's been calling me, but she's only irritated now, and I won't answer until she's concerned. Not because I like being difficult, though there is definitely that, I have a problem, but because her worry over a wasted mission almost sounds like worry over me. Behind me, information is downloading from a stationary port into a mobile one. When it's done, I'll take the mobile one back to Earth Zero, our primary Earth, the one the others think of as real. The information I gather is divided up into light data, population, temperature fluctuations, general news, and dark data. What is affecting their stocks that might affect ours, or if it's a future world, a full listing of where every stock will close on a given day, and what our allied countries are doing that we don't yet know about. The existence of dark data is some big secret, even though I don't know why anyone would care. Insider trading and espionage don't even sound like crimes. Not real ones with blood. Kara, Dell says again, but she's still just annoyed. So I check the download's progress, 60%. Kara, I need you to answer me. There we go. I'm here, I say. There's a pause while she resets to apathy, but I heard the panic. For a second, she cared. You don't always have to leave me waiting, she says. And you don't always have to plant me 2 miles from my download port, but I guess we're both a little petty, huh, Del? I can hear her smiling but not smiling from 196 worlds away. I've dodged the physical trading for my job since just after my hiring 6 years ago. And she's so uptight, you'd think she'd just report me. But forcing me on these long walks every mission is her answer. Well, you're wanted back. There's a file on your desk. No, I already got my pulls for the week. Not a pull, Kara, a new file. No, but... I stop. I put my hand against my chest, expecting to feel a divot, some missing chunk of flesh. I want to tell her that can't be true. I want to tell her I would have known. Instead, I tell her I need an hour and I cut the link. So if I have a new file, it means I have a new world. And if I have a new world, it means that particular Earth's me isn't using it anymore. Which means I'm dead again, somewhere else, and I didn't feel a thing. I'm not sure how long I sit staring out at a horizon that's like mine but not. The download dings its finish. I could traverse out from here since there's no one to see me, but I steal a little time exploring the place fate tried to keep from me. Another me is gone. So as I walk out of the valley, I'm a little more valuable than I was walking down the mountain. Sorry, it's a very easy book to spoil because I love a twist, so I feel like I'm constantly like hopping around when I read this. Time is flat. Time is flat. We process it linearly, but everything is happening at once always. Right now, somewhere, I am kissing Nick Nick. I'm also leaving him. And I am killing him because surely I've done that before or will somewhere in the infinite. Right now, Dell is my watcher and nothing else. Right now, I am home with Dell, and we are happy, or we are not. Or we used to be happy, and now she resents my lower status, and I resent her resentment, and we stay together because we've given up too much to do anything else. I have always believed, like all rational people, that my selves are separate, that we, exist independently. But sometimes, when life is too still, when I lie in bed in the quiet, I can feel it all happening. Not just my selves collapsing, but time collapsing, because past and future are other selves just as surely as those on different worlds. My mother is dying right now, and I feel it. But she also recovered and woke up and got clean, and I feel that too. I feel that somewhere I am not alone, and I feel that sometime, soon or not long ago, I will accomplish something great. It's the latter that I feel the most strongly. The certainty that I'm on the cusp of finally being worth something. But maybe that's just my justification for reaching, for tricking people, for lying, for disobeying my mother's last warning. Maybe she felt the flattened universe too, all things at once, there at the end. Maybe she saw how I would die, have died, and will die again, and she tried to tell me. You know I feel those too, right? When I'm not careful. I feel 372 deaths in my chest, hanging over my head like a heavenly host of guillotines. And right now, I'm trying to ignore the hum telling me that 373 is coming, for real this time, and soon. Okay, so now we're gonna switch. So that's Kara. She's a real fun time. We're gonna switch to, this is the second book. This is the follow-up to this, and it speaks to this book in a certain way that is, I like fighting with myself, and I like putting you all through that too. Dedication to the flawed but brave, ephemeral but essential, passionate but irrational freedom fighters of the People's Plaza at Ida B. Wells, June 12, 2020 through August 13, 2020. And to anyone who has stood against injustice in the face of an opponent larger and more powerful than themselves, whether it be Nashville, Cop City, Iran, or your stepfather's living room. I got a note for this one, which is how you know that I must have been on one. I must have done something to get to, it's we're gonna need you to qualify some of this, please, right in the very beginning. So this is the author's note on rage. When my agent, the incredible Cameron McClure at Donald Mass, without whom you won't be reading these words, who's sitting over there, we love her, she's the best, read the first draft of this manuscript, she said, accurately, I didn't realize how angry you were. And yes, this novel was largely conceived during the 62-day sit-in at Nashville's Tennessee State Capitol. And yes, this protest produced hundreds of arrests under frivolous charges that dissolved shortly thereafter, and far more instances of brutalization which proved harder to erase and linger with many of us still. If any faith in institutional injustice had remained in me, my time there would have killed it. So if you also sense an undercurrent of rage in this novel, you are not wrong. But let's be clear. It is not bitterness. Bitterness is anger with nowhere to go. Bitterness and resignation are close and tempting cousins. Anger with a target is rage, and rage is sister to hope alone. We rage because we do believe things can be better, by fire if necessary. Science fiction is an expression born from the dissatisfaction with where the world is versus where the world could be, and the same is true for protest. Science fiction is fueled by dreams of a different but possible future, and the same is true for rage. While bitterness is an isolator, a repellent to community, rage is a beacon calling out to others. It is as much a communal invitation as any bonfire. Come join me, rage says, at the spark that is lit by the distance between what the world is and what we could make it. So if you read this novel, which is like but also very unlike my own experience, and you feel that fiery undercurrent, please know it for the call it is, The night is long and dark, Rage says, but I will keep us warm. I long for the day when I read this and somebody's not saying like, oh, is this about the new Tennessee news? And I'm like, no, but also yes. It's always about the Tennessee news. I did not come to preach of peace, for that is not the hunted's duty. Denez Smith. They call me Mr. Scales because I'm a snake. Or they call me Mr. Scales because I'm real balanced. Or because maybe my father lent metal. It depends on who you ask, and they're mostly wrong. It doesn't matter. Wrong and right are moods in Ash, not values. We tell each other stories we know aren't true, and we're glad to hear them as long as they stretch. No one cares if the endings are happy. We only care that they eat up time. I like hearing stories. I'm not great at telling them, and I don't like doing things I'm not good at, but I don't have a choice. Too many of the other tellers are dead, and they're waiting for me to say their part. We don't like witnesses in Ashtown, but I guess that's what I am now. When it started, I was on drop-off. I was not supposed to be on drop-off. I'm a runner, but I'm just the mechanic. I fix things. I'm supposed to work back at the row downtown unless I get bored enough to beg Mr. Silk for a week's alt duty. But Mr. Cheeks has been flaking, and he's covered my ass before, so I was covering his by doing drop-off. You don't need to know any of this to understand what happened next, but I told you, I'm bad at stories. Exley was waiting for me when I came in. Exley's always waiting for me. Or maybe their face just looks that way, because it's the face they wear to greet clients. I don't mind if it's just for show or just for me. It looks like they're happy to see me, and that's all I need. Hey, pretty girl, Exley says. Girl, I don't mind. Pretty is a lie, but even a lie sounds good coming out in Exley's silk smoke voice. Hey, boss, I say. I call Exley boss because I used to, and because they're the only person in the waist the Emperor won't get salty at if he finds out. I slid the package along the bar, deliberately stopping it just shy of Exley's grasp, because I wanted to steal the simple pleasure of watching those long, gold-dusted fingers, those long, tipped with glittering nails, reach for its edge like the uncurling legs of a glamorous spider. So what? I like to watch pretty things move. I like to make broken things fixed. I'm very simple. I remember that Helene X was dancing on the Femme stage, and we've been friends since even before I used to dance in the slot right before hers, so on my way out, I stopped to watch her, because I always do, and I always have, and I always would have too, if the world hadn't forgotten itself right then. Helene's Wiley City all over. True pale, not that chalk wash new providers use, with golden hair. That's the part that I want to tell you. I want to tell you how she looked golden right before, twirling with her back too straight to have ever actually been from here. I want to tell you how her eyes and mouth were that almost but not quite shut that she'd perfected, an invitation, the way an almost shut door can make you want to come inside more than one flung wide open. I wish I could describe the way her skin was pale like a pearl, but didn't look like a corpse, until it did. It began at her neck, the tight ridge of it pulsing, at first strange enough to be erotic, and then too much to be anything but grotesque. By the time the bones at the back of her neck had pushed through to the front, it was too late. Her eyes were wide open by then. The front of her torso cracked in, then back out, like her ribs were wings, pushing through the wrong side. Finally, the bones broke through her chest cavity, like something being born, and the accompanying blood was an arc of spray that painted the crowd and gave them permission to panic. Everyone screamed, and everyone ran. I walked toward her. I don't know why. Because I fix things, I guess. It's what I do. So I climbed onto the stage I'd last stepped foot on over a decade ago and gathered her fracturing torso into my lap. I held her together. She insisted on breaking apart. I held her harder, but then I was just breaking her too. Sometimes when you want to fix something too bad, you break it. The way you can shatter metal if you make it too hot, even if all you're doing is trying to mend a crack. This is something I should have already known. In the end, I don't know if I held her together more than I tore her apart. But I know that's how they found me, like a real runner, bloodied up and still trying. Thank you.
The publisher is Del Rey? Yeah. All right. That was great. So we're going to take a 10 or a 15-minute break. Please buy a drink, hang out, and come up and talk to the authors. And we'll be back in a few minutes with Siobhan. So hang out.
Hello, everybody. Woo-hoo. Hello. Hi. Welcome back. Hello. Is this on? Is it on? Hello there. Welcome back to the. Welcome back to the second half of the KGB, the fantastic fiction of KGB. Oh shit, he's taking my picture.
Revenge. For all those years.
Right, I know. Anyway, we have some upcoming readers through the end of the year. We have coming up June 10th, Nicholas Kaufman and A.C. Wise. This is going to go right in my nose, I can tell. Okay. July 8th, Sam Rebelin and Victor Manibo, who's here. Is it Manibo or Manibo? Hi there, Victor. August 12th, Suzanne Palmer and Kaylee Pedersen. September 9th, Jeffrey Ford and John Foster. October 14th, Carrie Edmund Laban and TK. November 11th, James Patrick Kelly and Stephanie Feldman. And December 9th, Paul Tremblay and Krista Carmen. So I have a good lineup coming up. But right now, we have Siobhan Carroll. Siobhan Carroll is a Philadelphia-based writer of fantasy, science fiction, and horror. Her award-winning short stories are defined by rich historical settings and a mixture of tragedy and comedy. They have been translated into multiple languages and adapted to television by Netflix's Love, Death, and Robots and Amazon Prime's Secret Level. Carroll teaches creative writing, 19th century British literature, and the history of exploration at the University of Delaware. Please welcome Siobhan Carroll.
Well, thank you, Ellen, and thank you, everyone. I'm going to try and make sure that my
You can put that.
drinks and everything are in a place where they will not spill on electronics.
That'd be good.
That would be good, wouldn't it? Because we want to limit on the tragedy that we experienced tonight. Micaiah and I were talking earlier about our shared love of 19th century history and the fact that our objective in life is to make people feel sad about the past. But tonight, the laughter was good. I'm also hoping that I can make you laugh about it a little bit. And the last time I was here, I read a story about a cat called For He Can Creep that you guys really enjoyed. And tonight, I thought I would read from an unpublished, still in process story set in the same world as For He Can Creep. And it is featuring another very famous cat from 18th century London whose statue you can see if you go to London. So some of you travelers may have already seen it, maybe some of you haven't, but regardless, I'm going to introduce you shortly to the remarkable Hodge. And the story right now is called The Current of the World. Hodge was a wonderful cat. Round and sleek with sable fur, soft as shadow, and in his years as the dictionary writer's cherished pet, he had tuned his voice like an instrument. When hungry, Hodge called for food in operatic areas. When petted, he purred like bees in a honey-warm hive, and sometimes, excited by the word of the day, he would climb to the study window and yowl that word across the streets of London, confident in his sonorous truth. Today, in the lexicographer's house, Hodge was going hungry. He inserted himself between the humans' feet to remind them of his presence, and he whined and pined, caterwauled and batterwalled, and finally escaped angry hands and slipped inside the study, where he knew his most renowned human was at work. There, Hodge flopped on top of a pile of ink-stained papers and staged his death by starvation. In Shakespearean fashion. "Stop, cat!" cried the lexicographer's assistant. "You're destroying the S's." "Oh, Hodge is just hungry, aren't you?" the lexicographer said. "Here, have a biscuit." Biscuits, noun. Bis from the Latin for twice, and quit from the French for baked sounded good to Hodge. He devoured the one in the lexicographer's hand and mewed for more. Happy cat, the lexicographer said affectionately. Your brain does not plague you with melancholy. You can move from misery to happiness in an instant, whereas I am dull and sad, where most men would be content. Why can I not learn this trick from you, remarkable Hodge? You could always eat your own biscuits, the lexicographer's assistant said. A dark-skinned man in fine but oversized clothes, he was seated at the window, an ancient Greek dictionary open to a relevant page. I could, Mr. Barber, I could, the lexicographer admitted, but they're dreadfully stale. He patted Hodge's head. The cat is right, he decided. We've had enough work today. We should go to the theater. Well, I hear Garrick is performing a magnificent King Lear, said Barber apprehensively. Lear? Oh, no, the lexicographer sighed. They have ruined Lear with that happy ending. Cordelia lives. The king lives. I don't think I could bear to see it. Well, I would have thought you would like it, Barber said, given how much you dislike the play. Well, I don't dislike the play, said the lexicographer, absently stroking Hodge's head. I rather hate it. I think it Shakespeare's truest play, and therefore his greatest, and of all his plays, however, it is the one I cannot bear to see. Did you know, he continued, that this week is the anniversary of my father's death? He was a kindly man, but like me, afflicted by a cruel, melancholy disposition, which sabotaged all his hopes of success, save me, his one surviving son, whom he hoped could rise where he could not. The day before he died, my father sent for me to join him at our stall in the marketplace. By this time, I knew only too well how my fellow students looked on tradesmen. They already jeered me for my girth, my palsied face, my stoop, my squint, my old clothes, and lack of money. Had they seen me at the marketplace, they would never forget that I was a stallman's son. So, Barber, when I saw my father standing in the road, his cap raised towards our carriage, I looked away. The carriage rolled on, and I knew in that moment I had done a terrible thing. I knew also that it was the only thing I could do to fulfill my father's hopes for me. So when I learned, a day later, of his death, I knew that I had killed him from the shock of it. And since then, I have often thought of that moment. Once, years ago, I traveled to the crossroads at which I had made my decision, and I stood there all day in the rain, with my head uncovered for penance. In some ways, I think I have never left that road, but stand there always. Yet, to this day, I do not know how I could choose differently. That, Mr. Barber, is the root of my unhappiness, and this is the root of King Lear's greatness. Shakespeare's original play tells the truth, that in this world there are no second chances, that innocents are punished while the wicked grow rich, that Cordelia dies in misery, and her aged father, sick and broken, dies disappointed in his children. The world, Mr. Barber, tends towards tragedy. Well, there's a comedy playing at Lincoln's Inn, said the ever-pragmatic Barber. How about we see that instead? This plan being agreed on, the humans departed, leaving Hodge to his own devices. If there is a creature on earth more mischievous, more dangerous than a cat with time on its paws, it is an educated cat who has run out of biscuits. At first, Hodge amused himself by reading the words collated for the day, then by attempting to eat the flowers on the lexicographer's desk. He read a few pages of the novel that Mr. Boswell had left on the table, and when it proved insufficiently scandalous, coughed a hairball on its cover. Then he noticed that the lexicographer's window, usually bolted, was standing open. Gray twilight had fallen over London. On the streets below, criers announced their last sales of flowers, baskets, watercress as the country girls prepared for their long walks home. Iridescent pigeons fluttered to a nearby rooftop and milled about in a foolish mob. Hodge chittered his teeth. His tail twitched once, twice. He knew he should not risk climbing out the window, but was it fair that the pigeons ignored him so completely? He might well be a genteel, portly, gentlemanly sort of cat, but he was still a predator, a killer. Well, not of birds as of yet, but of flowers. And curtain tassels and the specks of light that Mr. Barber reflected off his watch. He was pretty sure he could catch a pigeon. A single spring took Hodge from this sill to the next one, and from there up to the roof. True, he slipped and had to scrabble against the tiles to regain his footing, but he was stealthy. The pigeons barely noticed. Indeed, after he'd lain panting on his side for a time, the pigeons stopped staring at him and went back to their business. Pigeon conversation, Hodge was disgusted to realize, mostly consisted of apologies after they bumped into each other. That and celebrity gossip. Sorry, pigeon voices now. Sorry. Oh, sorry, did I? Oh, no, that was me, old chum. Heartiest apologies. Are we sure she's here? But it has to be her. Constantinople says she's missing for months, and now, the experimentalist house smells of myrrh and frankincense. It has to. Oh! Sorry. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I should. Oh! That second was occasioned by Hodge, who was finally discovering what the idiom cat among the pigeons really meant. It was great fun. Feathers went everywhere. The smaller pigeons made little woo sounds as he batted them about like balls. Even in their terror, the pigeons apologized as they bounced off things. The chimney, each other, even Hodge. Their apologies made Hodge feel vaguely guilty, though of course he was a predator and could admit to no such thing. Still, he was on the verge of giving up his game when a skinny, bright-eyed crow swooped onto the chimney. Oi! The crow yelled. What's wrong with you, Mr. Moggy? Can't even catch a pigeon. I've caught many, Hodge yelled, though he had yet to actually catch anything. Nice try, Lordy, Jelly Belly, Mr. Blobby. Bet you can't catch me. Panting, Hodge plunged after the laughing, fleet-feathered crow. In his head, a voice whispered that this was probably a trap. But what could he do? The crow had called him Mr. Blobby. The crow had to die. Galumpus, the crow yelled, bouncing across the roof's clay tiles. Puff guts. Hodge charged, registering at the last moment that there was no longer any tile under his paws. The crow had led him to an opening in the roof, an observational skylight of some kind, and now Hodge was falling. I was right. It was a trap, Hodge thought with a touch of pride, and then darkness swallowed him whole. It's true that cats always land on their feet, but that doesn't mean they land quietly. Hodge clawed at wood and drapery to slow his fall and was rewarded by several crashing sounds and a noise like splintering wood. A frenzy of barking exploded beneath him. There was a dog here. Frantic, he jumped from object to toppling object until at last he found a place atop a teetering bookshelf from which he could safely observe his surroundings. The room into which Hodge had fallen appeared to be a study of some kind. There was a telescope lying in the corner, broken, a collection of papers scattered, and some crates lying on the floor, splintered. Perched on a mahogany table at the center of the room was a giant bird cage covered in a velvet cloth. In front of the bird cage was an angry young watchdog, its muzzle a mass of ancient scars. Thief! The dog thundered. I've got you now. No, you haven't, Hodge responded, before remembering his dignity. And I am no thief, sir. He drew himself up to his full height and then realized that as a cat he probably shouldn't be responding to dogs. He licked his fur instead, which was looking slightly worse for wear. Perhaps if he ignored the dog, it would go away. You are a thief, the dog growled, a blackguard and a villain. Blackguard is a adjective, is a low word, Hodge mused. It is taken from thieves' cant, to mean a dirty, untrustworthy person. Your use of thieves' language makes me suspect you, sirrah. Also, as a cat, I am obviously not a blackguard, but one who is eminently respectable, trustworthy, and clean. He licked his fur to prove his point. At the beginning of Hodge's speech, the dog's ears had perked up. By its conclusion, the dog looked positively astounded. "'Struth," the dog said, sitting back on his haunches. "You're the remarkable Hodge." This was so far from the reaction Hodge was expecting that it took him a moment to hide his delight. Like all cats, he deserved celebrity. But the world being what it was, he was not actually expecting to receive it. Unwilling to let the moment go to waste, he struck a pose. "Why, yes," he acknowledged. "'Tis I, Hodge, the lexicographer's cat, curator of the English language, taxonomer of terms. Because of the audacity of some ruffian birds, I find myself fallen into your strange, dusty abode full of boxes and noisy things that break. I do not like it, sirrah. I do not like it one bit." "I see," the dog said, looking genuinely amazed. It had the rough fur and manners of a street mongrel, but it seemed, insofar as it was impressed by Hodge, to have some kind of intelligence to it, which Hodge had to respect. "Well, my apologies for barking at you, sir. I know your work. I hear it through the walls." "I am," the dog continued. "Well, the humans call me Scruff when they want me, so I suppose that is my name. I've been a watchdog here these 12 moons, at which time I've barked at many things, as is my duty. Forgive me at barking at you, sir, but one must, as a watchdog, bark and chase the things that humans want barked at and chased. It is my aspiration, sir, to be a good dog, and I know no other way of doing so." "This is a strange way of looking at the world," Hodge sniffed, "but I will allow it." He looked around the study, admiring the devastation he had caused. The telescope that had once rested in its lens in the skylight now lay shattered on the floor. The remains of a rope-bound observation platform lay tumbled beside it. "I would like to return home," Hodge said, "only I do not know how." "Well, I would assist you, sir," said Scruff, "but the humans have locked the study door, and I know of no other way out save the way you came in. Perhaps you could return that way." Hodge looked at the far-off skylight. Perhaps a younger and more athletic cat could have figured out a route back to the roof, but Hodge suspected his own attempt would prove embarrassing. "I will wait for the humans to return," he decided. "Surely they will be happy to meet me and do my will." "You will get no kindness from the magician, cat," said a melodic voice from beneath the velvet curtain. Hearing it, Hodge couldn't help but think of far-off places with fiery sands, the smell of saffron and cinnamon. "He is a cruel man," the voice continued. "He kicks his watchdog and denies him food. He suffocates mice for experiments. He collects angels of thought and light and tortures us for his inventions." Scruff looked abashed, but he did not deny the curtain's words. Tentatively, Hodge clambered down to the floor. He approached the cage, sniffed the faded velvet, and pushed his head beneath it. He stared blankly at the fire blazing within. At first, he was reminded of the lexicographer's experiments with prisms, of the little splinters of light that danced across the wall. Gradually, however, his eyes adjusted, and the blazing shape inside the cage resolved into something like a bird with its tail that drooping like a peacock's, something like a flame guttering on wet wood, something like a story grown sad with the telling. "I say," said Hodge, "are you a phoenix?" He had heard of such things in the lexicographer's study, a red and gold bird that consumed itself in fire and rose again continuously. "I was," the phoenix said sadly, "but what good is a phoenix in a cold, wet cage? Free, my wingbeats stirred whirlpools on the Nile and called honeybees out of their hives. Now I'm a legend, not any more, but a specimen." "Specimen?" Hodge repeated. Noun, sample. A sample, a part of anything exhibited, that the rest might be known. From the Latin. Scruff barked excitedly. He shrunk back when Hodge looked at him. I have heard the dictionary man say so through the walls. It was true, Hodge realized. The wall that reared behind the cage was the same size, the same height, as the one behind the lexicographer's desk. It was a shared wall, separating Hodge from his comfortable fireside by a few inches of frustrating brick and timber. Does he exhibit you, then? Hodge had heard of such things. His humans spoke often of the learned pig at Bartholomew Fair that could perform arithmetic, of the dancing horses of Spain, and of dogs that performed tricks in the street. But the exhibition of a phoenix seemed of a different order. It was not only that a bird like this should not be cramped in a cage too small for its wings. As a worker of words, Hodge grasped instinctually that putting a phoenix on display would harm not only the bird, but the humans as well. It would transform phoenix from a legend into an ordinary noun, whittling down its meaning into something small and sad in an iron cage. But this isn't right. Hodge's tail twitched savagely. You are not a specimen, he exclaimed, but a mythogalaire, noun, from the ancient Greek, a story which binds us to tradition, as in the famous Arabian stories, the mythogalaire of Scheherazade. As Hodge spoke, a strange thing happened. The phoenix suddenly straightened, flaming brighter, and for a second it looked like the piece of a sun, a concentrated idea of light. Its brightness stretched shadows across the room, but then the light receded, leaving the phoenix looking much as it had before, only healthier, perhaps a bit stronger. Thank you, Cat. The phoenix sounded surprised. I did not think you were a magician. I am not. Hodge looked around him askance. The phoenix's brightness disturbed him, as did the fact he could no longer recall the word he had just spoken. Its syllables had vanished from his mind. Its meaning evaded him. In this place you are, a reedy voice said. Hodge glanced over to where a tiny demon, a creature, a demon of some kind, had stuck its head out the crate. You stand in the presence of mythical beings, O mighty feline. Words have power here, and you have given the phoenix a word. I see, Hodge said more calmly than he felt. If the lexicographer's cat knew anything, it was words, but why could he not remember the word he had used? Panic was rising in him like a tide. Well, she does look better. Scruff's tail thumped on the boards. Only, what was the word you used, sir? I heard it, but I don't think I remember it properly. Oh, you cannot have it back, the demon said. That word is part of the phoenix now. You gave it to her. Do you have other words? The phoenix asked eagerly. She stretched her wings experimentally. Were I stronger, I might break this cage apart, she said. I could be free, and I would grant you anything your heart desires. Well, what my heart desires is to go home, Hodge said petulantly. He did not say, I fear I have done more than given you a word. He did not say, I fear I have destroyed something more precious than a telescope or a bookcase or a pile of papers, and I need to know if I am right. Watch it, the dog said warningly. The magician is coming. I hear his boots on the stairs. At this news, the demon started back, quaking in terror, and the phoenix trembled in her cage. Quick, Master Hodge, said Scruff. Get beside the door. I will greet the magician as he enters. He hates that. And while he is cursing at me, you can run between his legs. The coal cellar is 3 staircases down, and there's an hole there through which you can escape. Will he not treat you cruelly? Hodge said, for he had not forgotten what the phoenix had said. He was beginning to get the impression that the human who ran this house was a bad man, perhaps even a villain, of the kind dramatized by Shakespeare. The magician was clearly inclined towards phoenix capture, and perhaps dog beating, and therefore also worse crimes like eye gouging, regicide, all manner of unmannerly behavior. He sounds angry. Oh, don't worry about me, Scruff said. Goes with the job. Before Hodge could utter a word of protest, he began barking thunderously. The key turned, the door flew open, and the magician stood there, a well-dressed gentleman with an aquiline nose and hard eyes that belied his boyish face. "D! Exclamation marks, you cur," he said. "Cease your nonsense." He struck at the dog, who leapt around him, glancing at Hodge as if to say, "Now's your chance." But Hodge was frozen in place. Every animal, demon, and mythical being imprisoned in this room was frightened of the magician, this villain, who sought to bend the world to his will. Who was Hodge to charge at his feet? "Cat," the dog said. "Run." Scruff began running in tight circles, barking. The magician stepped through the door, and now the door was closing, its narrow rectangle of freedom getting tighter and tighter. Courage, Hodge thought, from the Latin. Bravery, active fortitude, spirit of enterprise. As Dr. Smith said, nothing but the want of common courage was the cause of their misfortunes. He ran at the door. It closed painfully on his haunches and rebounded, but Hodge was through, running as fast as his portly frame would allow, following the dog's directions. Behind him, he could hear the magician yelling. "A villain," he thought as he ran. "A genuine villain. Oh, brave new world that has such people in it." But then he was through the coal cellar and into the cool, gray safety of a London street. And I will stop there. Thank you.
So you know I want to see it. Thank you. Unfortunately, no one has books to sell, but as Matt said, you can always go to a bookstore or order online and get their books. Anyway, thanks for coming, and see you all next month.
You've been listening to the Fantastic Fiction at KGB reading series. Check out our website at kgbfantasticfiction.org and click on support if you'd like to help keep the series going. Anyway, that's our show. Thanks for listening, and see you next month.